What was your sort of your graph looking like on the days here?
Yeah, I didn't get a hot start. I was pretty short. I was able to gain a few chips on the money bubble, and I was headed down to play on the money bubble. This was like day 3, I guess, day 3 or 4. And my wife was pregnant. She called me like halfway to the Rio. She called me, and she's like, I had lunch with my friend. I just got dropped off. I'm locked out of the house, and it's 110 or 15 degrees out. She's pregnant, so I had to turn around and be like, go let her in. And be like 30 minutes late with like a decent stack on the bubble. So that kind of, honestly, in hindsight, obviously, you know, the butterfly effect, it probably wouldn't have worked out like it did. So that was a lucky thing that happened. I never had a ton of chips until I think it was, I mean, my memory is foggy on all this, but day 7 you played at the final table. So it was day 6. I remember playing with Kyle Kiernan and Paul Volpe and John Beaupre. We were talking about this summer. I was at the table, and I called Kyle on the big hand on the river. He was bluffing, and then I just kind of caught a run, and you know, I think I looked down with 50 left, and I was a chip leader. I had like 9 million or something, or something like, if my memory is right. But I was chip leader for a while, like 50 people, and I was like, I felt great about my game, and I felt really, I mean, looking back at how I played, I don't play like that anymore, but at the time I had very high confidence. I was just crushing online, and I had cashed like 12 tournaments that year. My online tournaments results were good. I felt like I could definitely win. I liked my chances a lot. I also, so that was great. But then, you know, I didn't stay the chip leader. I won a big flip against UV with like a couple of tables left, which kind of propelled me into just, you know, hanging on to make the final table. Came in 9th to the final table. And then honestly, I did the least studying I would think of anyone at the final table. Because my son was born in the off time. So we were off for like 2 months, and I would have liked to have just played because I felt like a lot of other players had a lot of room to make up where I didn't have as much, right?
Right.
So my son was born, he was born like 7 weeks early. So he was in the baby intensive care, the NICU, for like, I think he was there for 3.5 weeks. So during that downtime, I was, you know, me and my wife were going to the hospital to see him every day, feed him, do all the parenting stuff. So the biggest break I've ever had from poker was from when I final tabled the main until I played the main event final table. I just didn't play. And I felt fine with it because I liked where my game was at.
Were you playing poker before sort of moneymaker and all this, or how did you get into it?
The boom, for sure, the boom. I mean, you know, I played back in the day in high school with friends, and during the holidays, I'd go to a particular friend of mine. His family loved poker, and they did that, and I would always go to their house, you know, around the holidays. I mean, obviously hung out with my family, but they would have these poker games, and I loved it. Like, I love games, right? As a lot of people in poker. Yeah. Loved, you know, my grandpa taught me chess when I was a young kid, and big video, you know, I love video games. So just any strategic kind of thing. And then, so it was in college. I wasn't playing a ton, but then the boom, Moneymaker was on ESPN. I started dabbling online on PokerStars, small stakes, these sit and goes, and party poker, all that stuff. And I'd watch Rounders, and it was, you know, this whole underground professional scene. And I was wondering, like, is this a real thing? Like, it kind of seems like a true story. I'm like, can people really like actually make money at this long term? And I remember going to Barnes and Noble and buying, like, I think I bought Scarn's Guide to Modern Poker or something, and was reading about it, and it sounded like you could make money over the long term playing poker, you know? So I remember watching Rounders. I watched it like every day that week. You know, I've never done that with a movie. Me and my roommates were crazy about it. One roommate in particular.
Great movie.
Yeah, and we were just playing heads up, you know, on the coffee table every day, watching this movie, and then, like I said, online started, and I just kept getting more books, and I got like Sklansky, Limit Hold'em, and then I would go to Blackhawk, which was a couple-hour drive, and play $5 limit poker. This was like in 2003, probably. So basically, I kept reading the books and thinking, and I just loved it, right? So, you know, I could make money at it. So in 2004, I had already been tracking my results very meticulously, and I was making like 25 or $30 an hour playing poker, right? And my job paid like, you know, I worked at a wood shop. I built cabinets, and it paid like, I don't know, $10 or $15, $12 an hour or something.
Right.
So I was like, you know, I'd love to play poker. I had like a few $1,000s saved, right? That was a lot of money. I don't come from a lot of money. I never had a lot of money. So I just kind of saved up the bankroll, and I was like, I have this money. I have this game every day that goes now that I play. It was like a dealer's choice game. So I'd get out of class my last year. I quit my job. I would get out of class, go to the local card club, play a dealer's choice game, and they'd have no limit like once or twice a week, and just kind of built my roll higher and higher. And I graduated in '05. I had like $6,500 saved, I think. And that was like the most money I ever had, right? I was like, I'm doing pretty good. And I didn't know people with that kind of money, right? So I'm like, I'm just going to move to Vegas. And I didn't have a job lined up. I did graduate, but I said, I'm just going to move to Vegas and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? That I lose my money. I'm not risking like losing a job or not being able to support a family. I didn't have that. So I moved to Vegas, and I played. I moved to Vegas with a truck that didn't have an AC. I moved in August, and I just started playing 2-5 no limit around town at the Palms, mainly the Palms, Bellagio. I struggled a few months, and then I found Doyle's Room in December. They had like a $500 sign up bonus, and it was something about the players there, and I guess I was always getting better, but I put money on for the deposit bonus, and I made like 10K or something. I'd kind of been break even, then I made like 10K in December, which was like huge, right? Like
Yeah.
1.5x all the money I had, and then I just moved up the states, and I just did really well on that site specifically. For a couple of years, and then I started mixing in 510 at the Win, played that a lot. I was kind of doing online and live.
You know, are you big into PO? Do you have a group that you work and study with? What do you think are some of the attributes and things that you do to sort of make yourself one of the elite pros in the world playing the highest stakes?
Yeah, I think you got to be solving these days. You know, I've spent a fair amount of time with things like that. You know, Munker, PO, and all that stuff. Analyzing hands. So I play hands, and I'll check them out later that day. You know, any hand I play, I don't feel too confident in, or if I'm questioning how I played it, I look into it. You know, and you didn't used to have the tools like you have now, right? Back in the day, you could analyze sessions, but maybe send them to friends and talk about them, but you didn't have a solver. And solvers only take you so far, right? Because some people are just off the solver grid, right? So you can't, the range they have isn't the actual range the solver's playing, and you know, on the turn, what they would have done on the flop, their range is different from the solver. So I think a big skill is being able to use that stuff, but also turn it off when you need to.
Right.
Do, because you get so used to playing like that and thinking like that. But I think, you know, most of the top players now are doing these things. I think the big arguments start because people have a game they're good at. Maybe it's no limit cash game or a high roller, and they play a certain way. They don't, maybe they're not playing the tournaments he plays, right? So you can do things differently in a softer tournament. You don't have to do things like optimally, you know, like the solver says exactly, right? So you can make stupid, crazy folds sometimes because the guy's range is just not what it is in against the high roller, right? It's just way different. So that's why I said being able to turn it off, or just being able to resolve kind of, if you use the solvers enough, you kind of just know how to apply the theories and mechanics of it all to a new range that they might have, right? So like making a crazy fold that you should never fold, that Pio is going to say is a 10 big blind mistake, you can do that sometimes in the really soft field because the guy doesn't have bluffs, right? So your top of your range is half of it's dead, right? So I mean, I've always given Phil credit because I think he's doing things like that. I do think he won't do good against the top players. If you put him in a 25K at the Aria against, you know, Ollie and Jason Kuhn and a lot of players like that.
Chaos and Chidwick and Obama.
Chidwick and Elias.
Yeah.
He's I don't think he's going to win. I mean, but I don't think people have given him enough credit for what he's done, right? And also, let's think about this. Go way back before solvers and before all this new school of poker came up. He was crushing no limit back then, right? He was. I think people look at how someone plays now and forget, like, this guy was way ahead of everyone back in the day, and they don't give any credit for that. Maybe it doesn't matter now, but I still respect that.